Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Brown, founder and CEO of Swept Software. Today, I have with me Antonio, a customer of Swept, who owns and runs Impact Cleaning Professionals. So thanks, Antonio, for joining.
Yeah, no problem, Mike. Thanks for having me.
So what we want to kind of talk about today, you and I connected in Vegas, and you were talking about some of the contracts that you've won and how you leverage Swept to take on some huge contracts. Would love to talk about that, but first off, if you could kind of share a bit of your background and kind of what got you into the cleaning industry to start with.
For starters, I actually come from management, specifically retail. I did that for about 10 years. Then I transitioned to the financial services. That lasted about 6 months. It wasn't as fun. And then I went into operations management. And while I was doing that operations manager job, I had already gotten a little taste of the kind of the entrepreneurial lifestyle while I was doing the financial services, the freedom, and just seeing that it was in my control how much I could do or how little I chose to do. Versus clocking in, and no matter if I did a whole bunch of work or a little bit of work, I still got paid the same. So I started cleaning business on the side. First year, did one job. That one job almost made me quit because I charged way too low, and we were at that house all day long. But 2020, right before COVID, we picked back up and just decided that we were going to give it a try. Did it on the weekends all 2020. And right after Christmas 2020, I jumped in full time, quit my job, and here I am. I've just been full speed ever since.
Love it. That's awesome. When I owned my cleaning company, I took on, in the early stage, you take on what you can get, right?
Yeah.
And you start learning really quick. And I did one particular clean that there was smoke damage. Someone had smoked for like 30 years in this house. And anyway, I could tell you it was awful. There was no money made and a lot of lessons learned in that.
Yes,
that
exactly.
So it's great. So you actually scaled it first yourself cleaning. And then at what point did you start bringing on other people to help?
At first, when I first jumped out, like early January, February of last year, I actually brought in a bunch of people. Like I hired like 12 people, and we were doing good work, and they were hourly, so it was profitable. And then I just kind of, I'm not going to say lost control of the team, but I just started noticing too many people in the team just like weren't really a part of the culture. And that's because I didn't really have any type of system of like accountability or a system of follow-up or anything like that in place. So as they started to leave, I didn't chase them, and I didn't replace them either, because it was my goal. I didn't want to fire anybody, but it was my goal that I knew that those people weren't going to last. So as they fell away, I just was like, okay, I'm not going to replace. I'm going to work on systems. I'm going to work on getting things in place to better manage my team, manage the workflow, manage the business. And so during that process, I used a lot of subcontractors. So not as profitable, but it allowed me to be able to take a step back and figure out some things that work a little better for our business, learn a little bit more. And that's a big way that I found Swept. Just looking around and digging. Then I saw you and Ricky did a video on his channel with you and him explaining Swept, and I was like, oh man, I gotta try this thing out. It sounds like exactly what I need. But when I first tried it, I didn't really put the time into it, and I didn't, take her up on the demo and stuff like that, because I was like, okay, like I know I'm not like dumb. I can figure out how to make this work, but I couldn't figure out how to make it work as efficiently as everybody was saying. So I just kind of stopped using it. But then when I went to cleaning and cocktails and just talking to Dom, and then Don Lawson from Deposit over in St. Pete, he's actually the one that set me down and was like, man, you missing out by not using Swept. And he showed me like kind of step by step how him and his team use Swept to manage their day-to-day operations. And it was like exactly what Dom had explained at Cleaning and Cocktails. So just seeing that it was working for multiple people, I say, okay, I have to give this a try. And no joke, man, like the first week I started using it, I haven't turned back, because it's like, oh my gosh, it makes it so much smoother and so much sweeter that it's awesome.
That's awesome, man. I was actually on a podcast, someone invited me on this morning, and we were talking about technology in general and in this industry. and we were talking about like how to pick the right software and how to find it. And when I said, really the big issue is in this industry, I mean, when I owned my cleaning company, I lived it. You have no time. You are
Yeah.
reacting to the next big problem. And so what happens, we kind of segmented into like people who are in survival mode and people who are building, like who are like builders, building a company. And the people who are in that survival mode, it's not intentional. It's like they don't want to be there. But what happens is they buy software. It's like, this will fix my problems. And then they
Mm-hmm.
don't log in, or they log in quickly, or like, you know what, I don't need to go to an implementation meeting. I like,
Yes.
you can use the product without our help. But my team talked to hundreds of cleaning business owners every month, and there's so much value. And it's like we genuinely feel bad when we hear that, or when we look at the stats, we see that someone bought it and didn't even log in. And it's not just swept. This is like, it's like getting a gym membership to lose weight and not showing up, right?
Yes.
Like you have to go. And I love that you were able, take that time and at least again speak to other people in the community and then like take action. So can you share, I guess, the story about how you won contracts? Like how you swept, not just from the operations standpoint, but to actually grow your business?
I'm the type of person that once I find something that works, I try to implement it very quickly. I try to incorporate it into really every aspect of the business that it fits in. So one thing that I started doing immediately, even before I was like really doing it and using it properly, as soon as I left Chicago, when I left cleaning cocktails, like I hadn't, got it all set up, but I had a walkthrough. Like, well, it was a rewalk. Right after that, I had been selected as a finalist for this contract that I didn't even really think that like, I'm a shoot, but it's like I don't know if I'm gonna make that one.
Yeah.
But I got into the top three, and within the top three, they reviewed our proposals and things like that. And I had put swept in the proposal as one thing that separates us from the competition is how efficiently we manage our operations. Like, you can communicate with us at any time. We're seeing what our cleaners are doing in real time. We have checklists, we have reports that can show when you get inspected. And I had one of my guys, he was right there with me, had never heard me talk about swept, but he was able to pretty much follow right along with me, and he like pulled out his phone and was like, yes, this is and we hadn't like talked about it at all, but he was able to kind of stay on course. And I was like, when we walked out, I'm like, dude, now we got to do this for sure, like if we get this account. But when they called us back, they actually called me the week before I went to Vegas, and I had won the account. And swept was a really big part of that because they were worried about the things that they wanted to get done not getting done, worrying about whether people were showing up on time or not. And I told them, I said, if one of my people don't show up, I get a push notification that says, like, this person is 10 minutes late. Now I can be proactive and I can call them and say, hey, where are you at? Like, everything okay or whatever. And then I can jump on top of it before it's 3 hours into the shift or 4 hours into the shift, because it's day porter work. And so they were really happy to hear that, that we manage supplies, because we do supply management for them as well.
Nice.
So we were able to show them how that looks inside of swept. So, we're not using the notebook. And so like I have like my SDS links and stuff like that, have that in swept as well. So like I don't know if this is right or not, but I don't have folders up in all of my locations, but every one of my employees has access. But like the client was so enthused to hear about that, and like they really use it. Like they definitely use it because it's day, like I said, it's day porter work. So while we're there, it's just kind of like a free for all. Like they have the things that they want us to do, like definitely, but then constantly getting the thing on my swept saying, hey, we had a spill right here, and it's a picture of the spill. And all I do is send it to my guys or my supervisor, send it to the guys, say, hey, check this area. And my guys are right on it. And as soon as they hit the area, they send me a picture back. Like the client really likes it. Ever since then, I've been incorporating into every one of my accounts. I've gotten actually 3 more accounts, like that specifically reference swept, like because it's unique. I didn't know that this was like something unique. Like I thought this was like something that everybody else used until I got to Vegas and saw all the other companies and stuff. But I looked and went through their software and stuff, and swept, man, it's just so like right there with everything from the geo fencing to me being able to, pull all my hours for payroll and all that stuff. It makes everything simple. And
Well, I was in one city, and my plan was to build into multiple cities, like as a cleaning company. And so what happened was, I'm like, okay, there's a feeling inside when you get ready to expand your business. And I thought, I have control in my city, because if something goes wrong, like I have a supervisor who will go in. If they can't go, the next person, if they can't, like I'd go in, scrub toilets, like that, just the reality of owning the business. But opening in another city meant I had to have better insight and control and know what was taking place. And so that's why I built it. And so my thought at first was like, well, what if my cleaners don't want this? So I actually like grouped them up, and we talked about it. And that's why I have translation, because we had a bunch of people from Nepal who didn't speak great English. And so it was actually designed on how to help our cleaners. Let me
hmm
know if something's going wrong so I can take care of it. Like that was our culture was very much like, there's no blame. It's not anyone's fault. Um,
yeah,
and you will have employees who don't show up and don't do things. Well, they'll weed themselves out. But I didn't want to build a system that was like going to punish the 10% of people in your company that really probably shouldn't be there. So it was all about,
yeah.
how do I take that 90 and lift them? And anyway, it's interesting to see, from you and so many of our customers, like how that's kind of resonated through the company. Like it's built for you, because I built it for myself.
Yeah, no, that's something you can definitely tell, like while using the app. I try it both ways. I'll log into like a dummy account sometime to just like really like play with it from their point of view. And you can tell it was made by a cleaner. Like,
Yeah.
you can tell just how easy everything is, and like literally everything that you would think about, like from a checklist, to ordering your supplies, to being able to see the account details, like, look at the scope of work right there, have your picture thread where, how many times were you cleaning, like even maybe even before you had your own business, where, or you have one of your people where they panicking because something just happened, and like they don't know how to get in touch with anybody, or they don't know if
Yeah.
anybody's going to believe them that this is what happened. But you can
Yeah.
just go right in and take a picture of it, and the picture's timestamped. So if you saying that like it was water shooting up out the urinal, and that's why the bathroom looked like it didn't get mopped like last night, then you pull out your phone and take a picture of it right then, and it shows
Totally.
the water shooting up out the urinal, like, so nobody's like, come on, man, what's the likelihood of that happening? No, seriously, it's right here. Look in the app.
And it's
So
funny, as someone, you and I have both done a lot of cleaning shifts, like we put in our time.
yeah,
Stuff happens, like sometimes weird stuff happens,
yeah,
or you show
yeah,
up and like what the customer left behind or whatever. It's just like, it's an interesting industry in that you see,
yeah,
lots of different stuff, right? And so having
yeah.
that way to communicate it, just puts everyone on the same page.
It's we like it. Yeah, we like it using on our team, but at first it took a while for like the people to get used to, but thankfully they were all still newer.
Yeah.
They were newer hires, and it was just like from day one, this is how we're doing it.
Yeah.
This is how we roll, this is how we do things. This is what's expected of everybody. So
Yeah.
like I'm constantly, I gotta get me a operations manager or something, because like the amount of notifications I get, like, and I know I can turn them off, but I like seeing them come through because I know that my team is active. Once I get an ops manager, I'll turn them off on my phone and they can have them on their phone. But until then, I do, like seeing all the
Yeah.
notifications come throughout the day. Like I might not stop and look at all the pictures or whatever. I usually do that in the morning time when I'm doing my morning workflow. I just go through the pictures, make sure I don't see anything wild. But it's cool to just know that the team is active, because it's like,
Yeah.
more so real time, like this is what they're doing, and then
Well,
you
it's
can
awesome
start seeing
too.
patterns as well.
Absolutely. And that's it. Like, when you can identify those patterns, that's how you get over challenges and keep growing. But
Hmm.
like Ricky was sharing with me, they've grown they've grown up to past, $15 million. Like they've grown to be a very large cleaning company. And, he's like, I don't even go on Swept anymore because his team does. He has an ops department. He has
Hmm.
like, so he's built. And so this is like, when you think about your trajectory of starting off working some nights,
Oh
then some
yeah.
weekends, then leaving, your job, full on. You'll get that ops manager. Like it's kind of amazing how your trajectory that you're on. I
Oh
hope
yeah,
you're
man.
enjoying the journey.
No, I absolutely am, man. Even the rough parts of it, man. It's fun, man. It's been an experience because I definitely have done a lot of hard work for a long time for other people, and like for me, it's just like it's fun. Like and
Yeah,
I know you understand this, but a lot of people think you're crazy. They like, dude, you just go, 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 go. But this is mine. Like
absolutely.
and so now I'm just trying to work just as hard, man. Thankfully I have some awesome mentors within the industry that I wouldn't have gotten if I hadn't attended some live events. If you don't go to live events, you should. But like it's helped a lot because like my mindset of where I thought this business could be when I first started it versus like where I see it now when I'm meeting and talking with guys that are doing over 100 million, pushing 500 million that like legit started just like me. Like, they just
Totally.
was like, hey, I'm gonna go for it. And they started just like me. So it's like definitely with technology rolling around and apps like Swept and apps like Route, you got the different CRMs and stuff like that that really really like help streamline things. So it's not so much, I guess, energy going into making sure I'm checking all these emails, making sure I'm doing this, making sure I'm pulling out the pad every day and doing the checklist and stuff. Like,
Yeah,
all that stuff gets eliminated like when you properly use technology. And it's the way the industry is going. Like, I want to be on the front side of it while it's changing so that like 10 years down the line I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember when that first came out and these things have progressed, and that's why we're able to operate and be taken more seriously. Like in my opinion, that's one of the biggest things about like what apps like Swept have done for the industry, for the people that use it properly. A lot of times we get looked at as just the cleaners or the help or the janitor or the custodian, and that's all they look at you as. Like, but sometimes you're in the building and it's like, yo, I make more than everybody in this building for y'all to be like looking down on me. But we try to present ourselves as professionals at all times. And when you're able to walk in and you have the right tools as far as equipment, and then you have the right tools as far as technology, and you speak well and you handle yourself well, and most importantly, your team can execute. That combination, they can't look at you as just a cleaner. They can't. It completely takes that away because it's like, yo, these guys are serious. Like they know what they're
yeah,
doing. They come in here, they're like, boom, boom. Because my guys are they're beastly, man. They get stuff done and they do it the right way and they do it very
yeah.
quickly, and they back it with the technology. So anytime we can catch things before they become like a problem.
The cleaning business is a logistical nightmare. It's always this little tiny
Oh
stuff. Like,
man.
I, you don't get fired. Yes, you will get fired if you've done something majorly wrong. But what I find is people lose contracts because of something small that was happening over and over again,
Over and
like this
over.
little tiny thing that you might not even known about. And so, like to me, it's like I want to know about it so I can deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it, man. I love it. Like most of the time, most of the conversations I'm having throughout the day is either about the industry or with someone from the industry. I've grown to make quite a few friends in the industry very quickly, who are doing awesome things and are very like-minded as far as like how we're trying to change the face of the industry as far as like how they perceive us,
Yeah,
because we are professionals and we are essential,
absolutely.
and people need us, and they're gonna need us as long as is dust flying around, as long as there's water sloshing around and creating mud and sand and all these things, as long as that stuff is happening, like we're going to be essential. I want a lot more of us to start equipping ourselves with the things that we can. Gosh, I can't remember the guy's name, but he wrote the book As Many Reps as Possible. But he speaks about the concept of earning your confidence. Like, for one, getting out there and doing the work and building your chops as far as sales, but then you're adding different things like the right software behind you that can help you stand on your word.
Awesome. So, do you have any tips for anyone who's listening? Maybe they've just started their cleaning company. They're only a year in. Any tips for anybody who's listening?
Yes, absolutely, man. Do the if you're just getting started out on it, definitely take them up on any demo, on any walkthrough. The reps are very patient, and they will go through every step with you. That is very necessary because you miss out on a lot, by not doing that. Like I went like 4 months with the app without getting any use out of it really because I just didn't do the initial setup. But even after you initially set up, at first just definitely just keep it simple, something that works for you and works for your team. And but whatever you do, start using it. Just start working it and playing with it and figure out like what works and what doesn't work. And call as many times as you need to. Like, they will make themselves available. But just start using it. And I'm telling you, as soon as you start using it, you will see the difference that it makes in your business and the confidence that you walk into a proposal with. Because there's not too many walkthroughs that I go to that I feel like, this might not be one because like seriously, man, like the different things that we're able to include in our proposal, having that swept proposal page, telling them about what swept is, and then I follow that up with the email with the link to swept so that like they got to send the email to 10 different people, then they can all click on it and say, oh, okay, oh, that's actually cool. Like, okay, I can see how this works. So that's powerful, man. Like, so get into it, just start using it because it's definitely an asset. Like even in the bidding process.
You know what happens in that? You've just described it so well, is that you end up having a conversation with them that they're not having with another cleaning company.
Nope.
So they're getting 5 bids or 3 bids, whatever the case is, and everyone's saying the same stuff. And you're actually giving them a piece of information that there's no way that an office manager, facility manager, they don't know about swept. It's not their world,
Mm-hmm.
it's your world. And you are
Yep.
introducing them to something that's making them think and build trust with you. Like you've just demonstrated you're an expert over the other people bidding. It's a beautiful thing. I love how you're
Yeah. No,
leveraging it.
absolutely. Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Antonio. Really appreciate your time. Hopefully, everybody
Yeah,
else
man.
who's listening has heard that, can put some things into action. You mentioned, again, going to in-person conferences, getting a mentor. There's so many things that you've shared that will add value to help people build their company. So thank you so much.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me, man.